Hey guys, before we get too deep into the podcast, I want to share with you our free hardcover book giveaway located at emmettmuckles.com. There is a link on the site that will help you to navigate directly to where you can obtain the book for free. All you have to pay is shipping and handling so I can deliver it to you. It's $5. The story is an inspirational tale based on a young man's experience, and he's transported to meet his soul guide. So, this is great for everyone because it's going to let you know that you are never alone, that there is a cosmic force that is guiding you, that is here for you, that loves you. So make sure you get the book, give it to a friend, give it to your mom, give it to your dad. It will be inspirational for all those who read it. So we have a great podcast coming for you. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Hey everyone, how are you doing? Today, my guest is Mr. Declan Edwards. Now, here's what's funny about it. When I first heard his name, I thought he was somebody I might have grown up with in Detroit because it usually sounds, like somebody from my neighborhood. But come to find out, this guy is Declan Edwards, and he is a magnificent coach. He is that guy of confidence and purpose. How you doing, Declan?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
So, how's the weather in Australia?
Yeah, mate, it's perfect today, actually. We've just hit summer.
Oh, how rude.
How's the cold going for you guys?
Well, the cold here, it's just starting because we have this, what is that thing? They say global warming, whatever it is, because usually we have snow by now, but it was like 60 degrees yesterday, and today it's like 30. So it's...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you got some interesting things that are happening to you. One of it is that you, left university, you left your job, and you found your purpose. One of the items that stood out to me is when we were becoming acquainted is that as a coach, your main focus is confidence and purpose. How did you come up with confidence and purpose as your mainstay focus, and what led you to pull that into your Taurus, as I like to say?
Yeah, gotcha. So, I suppose I'll catch on something you said there. I don't really think I found my purpose as much as I developed it over time. I spent a lot of time looking for it. I felt like the more I searched for that sense of purpose in my life, the less I was finding it. So I started really looking within and going, well, what lights me up inside? What do I love doing? And looking back, I'd played competitive basketball, but I was more fulfilled when I was coaching basketball to young kids. I'd played in a band as a musician, but I was more happy when I was teaching guitar, and ended up realizing I just really loved coaching people and empowering them. So I went down that path and going, well, what do I feel is the greatest gift I could help people with? And I went, how about we learn to help people actually thrive in life and live life on their terms, not just get by. And so I went through that, exploration, working with some coaches myself, and eventually started to realize that the two things that stood out in my life that helped me really learn to love it and thrive were developing an authentic sense of confidence, so one that lasted. It wasn't based on, certain criteria I was putting on myself or conditions, just this long-lasting sense of self-love. And then also knowing why I'm here. So we like to say to people, who the hell are you for you? Why are you here? And what are you going to do about it? Because when you know those three answers, we've just found life becomes a lot more fulfilling.
Can you repeat those three things again?
Yeah, definitely. So the three questions are, who are you for you? Not who are you trying to be to live up to someone else or impress someone else? Who are you for yourself? And the second question is, why are you here? Why do you feel you were born? Why are you on this earth? What gift do you have inside of you that you can bring to the world, because that's your purpose? And the third one is, well, what are you going to do about it once you know those two answers?
That's a really awesome platform to have, because one of the things that we really don't understand, and I'm just coming to terms with it myself, is that we are the product of our rearing from like the ages of 5 till about 15, and it all sinks in, and then you kind of divert yourself or fool yourself. But it comes back to who your parents were trying to promote you to be. And that may not always resonate with who you actually are.
Oh, no, I was going to say spot on. It's funny that you mentioned 5 to 15, because we do find exactly the same thing. A lot of people's psychological habits and their thought patterns are drilled into them and very cemented by the time they hit 15. So then from there, they can either continue using them, or eventually what we find and what we do with our clients is help them recognize which ones are working for them and serving them and which ones maybe aren't anymore, and we can learn to let go of.
That is really awesome. Now, you did a pivot. That's what I like to say. I don't like to say a change, because we often just pivot from where we are. You know, we're still the same person, but we pivoted. And you pivoted from something totally different. What challenges did you have to overcome, and what obstacles were in your way to help you to get to this point of living a successful and living in fulfillment?
Yeah, so I suppose one of the biggest challenges was backing myself and believing in myself to do it. It's when you mentioned the pivot, one of the biggest ones that stands out to me is I was already running a successful fitness business and was also in my final year of university studying nutrition and dietetics. And for a long time, I thought that's what I wanted to do, but eventually I realized, and over time I realized it didn't resonate with me anymore. It wasn't what I felt like I was put here to do. I was just doing it because I thought that was the norm, like graduate high school, go to university, graduate uni, and go from there. So I suppose one of the biggest challenges and the most confronting decisions was when I decided to close a successful business I'd spent 3.5 years building, leave my degree, and then take everything that my wife and I had saved up towards a house deposit together, with her permission, of course. That was a fun conversation.
Oh, boy.
And put it all into this new business idea. So, yeah, that was one of the scariest, most confronting moments of my life. But in hindsight, by far one of the most rewarding. And I consider myself lucky to have a good support team around me, particularly my wife.
You know, that is a great point that you bring up. The fact that you have this support system that gives you the okay, and also will put a hand in the middle of your back when you're leaning backwards a little bit too much. So kudos to her for giving you those things that you need. And when it comes to that, because I know this has been a journey for you, as it is a journey for all of us. And sometimes the picture that we have in our head of success is different when we're 18, when we're 25, and as we age, you know, through, I call them the 7-year periods. You know, 7 years, we tend to renew ourselves. And our ideologies change as well. So what does success mean to you?
Yeah, and it's funny you mention that, because you're spot on, where success, I've noticed even year by year lately, it seemed to be really growing and developing as I continue to grow and develop. I do believe our idea of the good life or the successful life will change as we change. So at the moment, I like to say, when people ask me what does success mean to me, I talk about success as living a life of choice, like having the conscious ability to choose how I feel each day, what actions I take each day, and what results I'm aiming for each day.
That's awesome. I don't know how old you are, because I probably got a few months on you. But when you come across other people, because I do this, and I see people whose outward appearance is very confident, very reassuring, but internally they could be a literal wreck, but they have a great facade for the world to see. Have you come across individuals of this nature and began to work with them?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because that was me for most of my life. Up until about, probably 20, 21 years old, everyone thought I was the confident go-getter. But it was really just a really well-maintained facade. And inside I had very little self-esteem, very little self-confidence. And it's funny you mentioned, you know, have I seen that in other people? We're seeing it an increasingly large amount of times with people. You know, you look at people's life through the lens of social media, and it seems like they've got it all together, and they're training themselves to hold that up at all costs. But in private or behind closed doors, they're really struggling and they're really suffering.
Yes, that's true.
I find that when we can help these people, and I know for myself, when I learned to have permission to not be on all the time, like I don't have to be happy or thriving all of the time, it took the pressure off. And when I gave myself permission to have some down days, they actually passed quicker, and I found that I began to thrive a lot more.
Yes, I have just experienced that myself. So a couple of months ago, back in October, I was in Austria, and which always gets confused for Australia. and my wife and I, we took 2 weeks. I did some work over there, but we renewed our vows, and I came back to the States and literally did not want to do a thing. So for about 30 days, I did, I just kept putting everything on the back burner until about 2 days ago when I started saying, I better get back going. I realize now that that is okay, particularly in America, because we're a go, 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 go community. And that's why I say it's very important for people to get outside their circle so they can amass some information that is greater than their immediate circle. I have another question for you. And a couple of months ago, I had this guest. We were talking about business strategies, growth versus scaling up. Now, I want to flip that on you and ask you the difference between success and fulfillment.
Yeah, it's a great question to ask. It's one that I'm very passionate about because, so for example, we talk about 7 areas of life, and I've just released a book on this that goes through all 7 of them. But let's use 2, for example. Let's use your career and then your romantic relationship, so your marriage. People can be very successful at their career and have a terrible marriage. Vice versa, people can be very successful in their marriage and be not enjoying their career at all. And it goes through all 7 areas: finance, health, personal growth, self-perception, your social life. So success is what we feel is I can be successful in any one of those areas, or maybe 4 out of 7, or what it may be. Fulfillment is when they're all roughly equal, when it's living a more balanced life. So there's not as many ups and downs throughout your day where you're going, I'm loving my job, but I come home and I'm so unhappy. It's all fulfilling.
For me, that I refer to that as making the Trinity equal. So it's about the mind, the body, and the spirit, because a lot of times with our occupation or job, that is really the body experience, the facade that you see. And a lot of times with people's home life, you really don't know what's happening in that home life. They could have the facade of being an absolutely wonderful couple and be a hot, hot, hot mess. We've all known these people, but that's the thing that people don't take the time to think about, and particularly in this day and age. We are so bombarded with things that we're forgetting the basics, which is, ask yourself the simple questions, answer those, then move on. And it also reminds me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what you're talking about. So tell me about your book.
Yeah, so I've just launched a book called The Life-Changing Power of Perception. We just had it featured in Germany at the International Book Fair, and we've just started signing deals. So ideally, we're currently in negotiations to have it in bookstores in the US by next year, which is very exciting.
Good.
But it's a little actionable book. Hey, so when I wrote it, I did it to be only 110 pages long because I wanted it to be self-help, not shelf-help. I didn't want people to get halfway through it and go, this is too long, and just sit it on their bookshelf.
I understand that one.
Each chapter only takes about an hour to read, but at the end of each chapter there's activities and there's questions and things people can do, because I'm a firm believer that we can amass all the knowledge in the world of how to really live, a thriving, successful, happy life, but until we're going and putting it into action, it's worth nothing to us.
Absolutely. So are you going to release this on Amazon, or are you going to go through a marketing or a publisher particularly? Did you publish it yourself, or are you doing a tandem? How are you going to release this overall?
Yeah, so we've just released in Australia. We had the launch party last weekend. Originally, we self-published and planned on just having it to, give out at our live events or to sell at live events directly through us. But then the company we went through to self-publish in Australia said there could be something to this. Can I send it to some contacts? And the next thing we knew, we were getting offers for it to have a co-publishing deal, to be, featured on an international scale, and then to start talking about getting it into bookstores. So it's now currently just rolling out to bookstores in Australia and New Zealand, and we're in the final stages of negotiation for the UK and the US.
So when you come to the US, you and I are going to have this conversation again, correct?
Definitely, without a doubt. It's funny you mention that. We're actually looking at going back to the US, not next year, the year after. So I was originally born in California, funnily enough, so I go back to the US quite a bit.
So was it Southern California you were born?
In Anaheim, so Orange County.
Oh, yeah, I love Anaheim. So it's not much different where you are now. It's kind of the same landscape.
Exactly. It's and the right sort of vibe and culture as well.
That's awesome. So, you're dealing with people and you're surmising the landscape, and it's always changing. So why do you think so many people struggle to live a life on their own terms?
I think the biggest thing holding people back is they've just never thought to ask that question. As you said, and you hit the nail on the head where you said a lot of people's identity and thoughts and psychological patterns are created from 5 to 15 based on the teachings of their parents or their teachers or people that they look up to and value. I think a lot of people never get the opportunity to stop and go, well, hang on, who am I? What do I want for myself? What impact do I want to leave on the world? Those big questions we talked about before. People don't really ask that until, unfortunately, it's been 20, 30 years. We find that this is one of the major driving things behind the midlife crisis. People get to a point where they go, I have no idea who I am anymore, so I'll go buy a Ferrari and quit my job, and maybe that'll make me happy.
Yeah, I understand that very well. And I see a lot of things here, too, where people are just trying to find some identity. But here's one of the biggest problems that I see in our current landscape is, there's too many choices. So you are inundated with information and your inner voice gets muffled out. So now you're just trying to emulate something that you resonate with in the outside world versus going deep within, lining up those chakras and trying to figure out, hey, what is it? What's my purpose? Why did I choose to come down to this place and manifest myself, spiritual being, having a physical experience? So, I think the work that you're doing is spot on. I want to thank you for it. Being that light worker, that's what people are calling it now. People who are, in tune with themselves, the light workers. Contact information. So here's what I need. Your Google Plus, your Instagram, your Facebook, your website, your Twitter. Give it all to me.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So the best way to reach out and get in touch with me would be either through direct email, so sending it straight to grow@bucoaching.org. That's just the letters BU and then coaching.org. Or you can follow us on all our socials. So you can head across to Instagram by searching for Declan Edwards _BU, just the letters BU, or searching BU Coaching on Facebook.
And let me say something here. This is how you spell his name, Declan, because I know I would probably spell it Declan.
Yeah, yeah. So just Declan.
Yes, very, very good. And do you have any online courses or any online correspondence? So if there are people who are in the U.S., if there are people who are in South America or around the world who are not in Australia, but are looking for some input or to find out some of your works and be involved with that, is there anything available, any online coaching, any workshops that can be done on the internet? And what are you doing live in Australia?
Yeah, so all of our coaching is actually done online. I actually coach one-on-one people from LA, Copenhagen, London, and then all around Australia. And we've also just launched online courses, exactly as you were just asking. So if people go to the homepage of our website, www.bucoaching.org, there's a section there called the 5 Steps to Meaningful Change. That's a free online course that we've launched. for people to deep dive into, well, what's the structure and what's a strategy I can begin to use to actually start making change happen in my life, not waiting for change to come to me. So you can access that through the website for free. We're more than happy for you to access that. As what we're doing live in Australia, just launched the book live, and we also do live masterclasses and seminars. So we've got our next one coming up in January in Newcastle.
Awesome. Now, here's my last question for you. If you were sitting in your apartment or home or wherever you are, watching television, watching probably rugby, and you heard the doorbell ring, and you went up to the door, and you opened the door, and you were startled because standing at the door was a 19-year-old you with a look of inquiry on his face and said, "What have you learned that will make this easier for me?"
I'd say the first thing, there's so much I could say to my 19-year-old self. I think I'm just thinking, wow, there's so much I want to say to my 19-year-old self. But I think the most important one would be to ask him those 3 questions I posed earlier. Who are you for you? Why are you here? And what are you going to do about it? Because I know those were the 3 questions that really led me to go on this journey of self-exploration and personal development and become the man I am today. So if I could give that gift to him early, that's the first thing I'd do. And
that is an awesome thing for you to share with yourself. So I'm going to conclude this. I want to thank you so much for being on the show, especially at such short notice.
No, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to catching up in person when I'm next in the US, or if you ever come visit Australia.
Yeah, I'm working on Australia. That's one continent I haven't been to. There and New Zealand. And but yeah, time will tell. So here's one thing that I always say at the end of the show, and I've changed it a little bit since I've had the interview with Jane Elliott, which is you not only have to love yourself, but you also have to respect yourself. And with that, one of the greatest commandments that you will find in any doctrine is love and treat your neighbor as you would be treated. So it's not just enough for you to love yourself. You also have to send that love out and respect and be just. And remember, look in the mirror, study yourself, because you are a miracle. Be just to yourself, love yourself, and treat those outside your eyeballs the same way. Till next time, peace.